Hello and welcome to the Nash Tackle Off the Hook podcast. Just to make you aware, this podcast may contain some explicit/offensive language, and if that's not your thing, you don't have to listen, but I have given you a warning. I hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
You don't know the half of it, but anyway. I'm skating on the thinnest ice known to man.
He said, and they put a poison in the tank that just instantly kills them. He went and we'd run out of it, so we cut their heads off with shovels.
Suddenly, bang! The whole boat exploded.
Take your sort of 8-inch long piranha and imagine that at 4, 5, maybe 6 feet.
I said, I've revived your dead fish. F off, he said. You haven't.
That was just humongous. It was... I couldn't believe what I was looking at.
I'm just battling this fish out in the pond. I know it's a black man. I'm saying I'll never be a naughty boy again.
If you catch fish and you return them to the water, then you are my brother.
Welcome back to the Nash podcast. It's that time again. It's been a long time since we've done a debate. So I've assembled a new team. I don't think these guys have featured collectively on the debate before. I've got Tommy Forman, Jacob, London Carp or Worth, whatever you want to call him, and O to the D, the debate general, mate. You might have featured him more than me. Oli Davies, mate. How are you, boys? You well?
Great, thanks.
All good,
thank you.
Very good.
Living the dream, boys. It's nice to be back. Spring is in the air, the sun shines out, and we're in here for a debate already. Before this debate, it's been pretty it's been pretty leery. People are on good form.
You should have just filmed that last 20 minutes, really.
I may have filmed that. No, I haven't. But it was pretty.
You won't be able to put that out. This is not a chance.
As ever with the debate, we're going to talk about a variety of subjects. People are going to give their opinions in a formalised manner, and we're going to sort of see where it takes us, whatever dark hole that may be. We're going to start the first one. Best UK day ticket. We've all done a bit on day tickets, some more than others. Ollie, as your a linchpin stalwart of the debate, I'm going to let you go first, mate. Day tickets. Talk to me.
Worst day tickets? That's a different story. No, best day tickets.
Good from him.
Well, I guess it depends what you're looking for, doesn't it? If you're looking for big fish, then maybe somewhere like Waterside at Chesham, bit of a wild card. I mean, it's a bookings only thing now, isn't it? But chance of a £63 common.
Is bookings only a day ticket?
I don't know. Is it?
You make the rules, mate. You tell us.
You make the rules, mate.
No,
I don't make the rules.
Yeah.
You draw your own
In that case, is like a rotation booking a day ticket as well, as in you book on for 2-3 days. Is that classed as a day ticket
I guess
too?
it is, yeah.
Like an Ashmead.
Yeah, I mean, Ashmead's no different to Home Fen, is it? Like, in terms of, they're both the same booking system.
Oh, I thought you meant the lake. I was going to say they're completely different. Ashmead and Home Fair.
The lake and the stock.
I want to get on there, Ollie. Let's
In terms of the booking, you mean?
In terms of the booking system,
okay.
yeah.
Is that what Home Fen is? It's not you turn up and pay a 15
No,
quid?
I think it's like I think it's exclusive late booking now.
Okay.
Are we counting exclusive late bookings as day
yeah,
ticket?
throw them all in there.
I personally think, and this is my opinion, if anybody, so any member of the public can go and book it, whether that be for a day or week, 3 days, 2 days, on a rota, not on a rota, as long as everybody can access it in some form or way, I would quantify that as a day ticket late because the masses can access it.
That's change. That's throwing a spanner in, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's also making it more expensive, isn't it? Because those type of venues tend to be a little bit more expensive than your average turn up and pay day ticket late.
So should we keep it to just turn up and pay on the day jobs?
Well, value for money, I think, is probably the thing. That's the happy medium, isn't it? Of fish stocks, environment, how busy it is, and how much you've got to pay for that.
So what are you saying then?
Well, you could look at somewhere like Thorny Weir. Now, I visited there last year, and I still think that's actually pretty cheap. I think it's 15 quid or 20 quid a night. Oh, but that's not cheap, but by day ticket standards, it's pretty cheap, isn't it? Considering you can go up the road and pay almost double that. So yeah, and the fish stocks are great. Some fantastic scaly carp. So yeah, I'll as a starting point, Thorny Weir. Raise me a Thorny Weir.
Go on, Jacob.
I'm probably not the best person to talk to because I still don't drive. So I've not been to some of the better day tickets. I'm assuming most of them are down this end of the country, and I've only been to a couple. I've been to Thorny Weir. I did like it, but it's not really my thing. So it's hard for me to judge which one I would say is my favourite because when I see loads of anglers, I just immediately have this kind of negative connotation on that style of angling. But I don't know.
Well, the thing is, most day ticket waters tend to be busy, so
So I wouldn't like it. Yeah, I'd turn up and see that I can't go in a swim. I can't walk around and look for fish and go in a swim where the fish are. So immediately I'm kind of like negative from the start. I'm like, I've got to slot in somewhere and do the best in that swim. It's not really the kind of like what I'm used to. So Walthamstow's a good one for the reason that it's annoying that there's no nights, but that also makes it, for me anyway, almost better because less people go there because of getting to that location. Especially now, I think it's within the
clean air zone. Or whatever.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
So you have to pay to get into that zone. So it's a lot quieter than it was a few years ago. And if you get on the gate early, you've got loads of lakes to choose from. You can pre-bait spots and almost guarantee you're going to get on that spot, especially midweek. But even at the weekend, there might be 10 people, 15 people across 4 or 5 lakes. So if that was nights, if that was days and nights, and it was as busy, that would be like by a country mile the best day ticket, in my opinion. But because of the nights, it's like, oh, if you weigh it up, is it my opinion or is it what I think would be the best as a general angler? Then it's not, because it's hard and you've only got a day at your disposal. So I would have to say Thorny's probably edges it. Thorny's still probably above it. Because anyone can turn up and do the night at Thorny with a good chance of catching one.
What about thinking as a general angler? I know you said you haven't fished them, but what about thinking as somebody, because obviously you know of the data tickets out there. If you're thinking generally, what would you say would be up there? Maybe not specifically for you because you don't like the crowds or whatever. I'll put him right on the spot.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I'll tell you, I went to Boonies, Manor Farm.
Right, yeah.
Biggleswade.
That I really liked because that wasn't busy. Quite picturesque lake, a lot of carp, quite a lot of decent sized carp. So I guess if I was talking to my friends like, let's go a day ticket somewhere we can have a nice session, that would definitely come up. But again, I think Thorny edges it because it's got a lot of old strain carp in there and some big uns as well. So it's a bit of both. So I don't know if I can think of any that would top something like a Thorny.
2 for Thorny then.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go Thorny as well.
Great debate. You both agreed on the same thing.
Sorry.
The same day.
I've got no
there
argument.
Are hundreds and hundreds
I
of
know,
thousands of day ticket lakes.
While you've been
but...
talking now, I've just been thinking of all these exclusive.
Yeah.
Well, look, there's
lakes.
one that you know quite well, isn't there? You spent quite a lot of time up there, and that's the Kingfisher Complex.
Bluebell,
How would you rate that?
Incredible. Loved it. Yeah. I was just sitting here thinking then it'd be naive of me not to mention Bluebell after living there for 2 years. Not living there, but spending 2 years there, falling in love with it, becoming addicted to it. And if you, I know it's busy, but it's going to be because of.
But like, how do you deal with like 100 people coming around every morning with a bucket, going, "When you going, mate?"
Love the accent as well.
Just pretend to be asleep. No, I'm not really. You've just got to embrace it. Like, and it, I was definitely not the anger. I don't know. It's a really weird one, actually. I went from one extreme to the other. I was quite a normal, shy, keep myself to myself type of angler. And then we went to Bluebell 2000 and
For our sort of social thing.
Yeah, 2019 or whatever. I've talked about this with you on the podcast before, and you ended up falling in love with the place and thinking, I need to come back here and have another go. And I think Kingfisher in particular, Kingy, as you know very well, from fishing there.
I mean, it's got some serious carp in it.
Well,
yeah, that one's got probably one of the best stocks of a day ticket.
Kingy and Swan, the number of big uns in there is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Well, if you think Kingy alone, when I was fishing it 2019 to 2021, I think there was 27 carp over 40 pounds.
That's amazing.
That's one of the best stocks for a day ticket.
23 of them were commons. If you want to go and catch a 40, it's mad, isn't it? Like, if you want to go and catch
the pain you've got to go through.
Commons is like every other day ticket lake put
exactly.
together.
Or if you didn't like that, you can go to Swan next door, which is a completely different style of fishing.
Yeah.
And you've got a £58 mirror, Big Dave, and then two £50 commons and 12 other 40s or 15 other 40s or something.
And as you say,
which anyone can go and catch. Like,
you can just rock up and fish, can't you?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But for me,
yeah, go on.
I'm going to get into it now.
It's just taking a big deep breath.
No, I'm joking. For me personally, I would never go there unless they said no one's here.
Yeah, but
the lakes. But it will never be that. That's what I'm saying. But it'll never be that. It'll always be so busy that you're going there and there's no swims free. And if there is one swim free, you have to fish a certain way. Oh, that spot's like that's half good. Oh, there's a margin down there where everyone else sticks it on that exact same little clean patch. It's not like, to me, that's not angling. At least like somewhere like Thorney, there's loads more swims, there's snags. You can always find a way to do something slightly different. I feel like with somewhere like Kingfisher, you maybe can't. I might be judging something
Linear's
I've
kind
not
of the
been
same
there.
as well. A lot of corridor fishing where you're shoulder to shoulder and you have your narrow strip of water.
Yeah.
And you can cast a certain amount of wraps and you can't deviate too much left
I get
or
there's
right,
still
but-
like a level of skill, and if you go in and you're a good decision maker, you can
Yeah.
still catch and stuff like that. But
Kingy's not an easy lake, man. Kingy was
No.
fucking hard.
No.
Like you had to. The thing that I loved about it, like the buzz that I got from it, I think is yes, you're completely right that you get your swim, and more often than not, that's you for the next 2-3 days or whatever. But what you can do in that swim, that was kind of part of the challenge for me. Right, there's your swim. Do as you please with it. You know, especially on Kingy, those fish will, over a 24-hour, it's a cool lake, over a 24-hour cycle, those fish are in front of you at some point in that 24 hours. Every swim, even the crappy ones in the corners or whatever that don't get overlooked a little bit, the fish still get in there.
Well, when we were there,
You get a chance.
big un
The
come
big
out
one,
of the
that young
corner.
lad, he had never been there before.
He turned up and it was the last available swim, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In the corner, and he had a 30-something, and he had a
Lucas Common,
Lucas,
47 or something.
47, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's the beauty of that kind of fishing is that even when you feel like you're not in the game, you are always in with a shout, aren't you?
Well, when there's 27, 40 pounders swimming around, you always. It's not as if it's a good lake actually, because it's not as if they're always in one snag or one swim or one. And that was the buzz for me. Yeah, they could be all over you and you don't get a bite. And it was about doing those little things, changing your baiting strategy or changing your rigs, or
I mean, fair play to you. You caught one on your first trip, didn't you? A 40-pounder.
in the video, yeah. Yeah, but I see one jump across the single on it and caught it within an hour, like 42 pounder. But
Yeah, mate, you got to be in it to win it.
of course, yeah.
Good
But then, over the next 2 years, I learned a lot about the lake, and I ended up catching a few of the big ones off the top, like a few in the edge, making little, like raking out little spots on my own, and so yeah, doing stuff different. So yeah, it's definitely not Bluebell's definitely not a 3 rods on a spot, but like linear, I don't think is a bit more.
I mean,
Creativity to
I think
it.
a lot of people
Yeah.
would say linear is the best, though, isn't it? I mean, how many people have had their PB from linear?
Yeah.
How many people visit
Depends
on
what you like,
on a
innit?
weekly? But I mean, I don't know how many anglers they can get on that complex, but it must be hundreds.
That's
like-
a lot, isn't it? There's a lot of swims, and you got Tar Farm across the way. I know it's different, but it's still the same sort of branch out. You've got a lot of water there, haven't you? You've got a lot of water. I think it's hard. Bluebell's got an incredible stock. It's interesting what you said there about you've got an opportunity every 24 hours when you're fishing it that where they're on you, because there are other complexes like, let's face it, you can go on to linear and they might be one end and you're completely opposite
Yeah.
end, and you are not getting a chance.
Well, it's the same as Swan next door, isn't it? Unless you, 99% of the time, unless you're in one of them, the causeway swims, you're sort of pissing in the wind a little bit. Like, it's not necessarily, they do move about, but that lake is completely different to Kingy, where they're all sort of,
It's very swimmy, isn't it?
a little bit swimmy, whereas Kingy's not.
So I think, you know, for it to be a good day ticket lake, it needs to be not too swimmy.
I reckon.
So again, the likes of Thorney, they all do bites, don't they?
I don't know. I'd like to go, I think. I should have really gone by now, shouldn't I, Thorny?
Well,
Never been, man.
Yeah. Oh, we'll go. We'll have a little trip.
I'm trying to think elsewhere. I'm trying to think
What,
further up
what
north.
about up north, Hassan?
Mate,
what have you got up by you?
Clearwater is where I go.
no,
Wire
that's-
side, they're again.
That's a cool place, isn't it? We went up there, didn't we? You remember we went to film a little...
We did, yeah. Clearwater was
Clearwater,
lovely,
mate.
yeah.
For me, like, I love it, mate. Clear, as you say, it's the name's the keys in the name. It's Clearwater. You can fish a variety of different ways. For the north and for anywhere, let's face it, you've got a day ticket lake which has got a real good head of 30s and good 20s and really nice fish, a good variety of fish. So you're not just got the same sort of stock in terms of one look or one bloodline. There's a mix, some Devon Valleys in there, some real sort of sparsely scale fish as well. Yeah, you've got another day ticket lake which has got slightly smaller fish, but it's deeper water fishing, a lot of zig opportunities, a lot of surface opportunities. And then you've got, I mean, the syndicate's a syndicate, doesn't really count as a day ticket, but there's 2 different waters there near the Lake District, which, yeah, I love them, like mega. Run really well. There's opportunities from a lot of different swims.
Plus, you can go on safari as well while you're there, can't you?
Alex has got some cats in, yeah. There's a few giraffes on the island. Yeah, no, it's good. Wyreside I've done a bit, but I've not really fished old wire. But again,
that used to be really famous,
exposed.
didn't it? Wyreside. I remember growing up, like and reading the magazines, and Wyreside used to be the.
Yeah, I'm trying to think out Lincoln Way you've got as well. You've got some out Lincoln Way, haven't you?
There's so many new fisheries springing up, to be honest. I think that probably we're not doing them justice.
You've got that whole complex. I'm just trying to think. There's a lot. There is a lot.
These exclusive bookings, you don't know this, you probably won't know this yet, but we've started filming a new series last year. It's going to be called, I think it's going to be called It's Okay to Stay, where me and you went, didn't we? It's basically a series that I'm going to be presenting where I'll go to and visit different exclusive booking lakes around the country and book them for Monday to Friday, whatever's available, and take one other guy with me from the team.
Yeah.
And show how we would approach that lake, having a lake to ourselves from Monday to Friday, from start to finish, how we would go about figuring it out. And we filmed one last...
Where'd you go?
August.
Summer, yeah.
August, wasn't it? First weekend of August. Me and Ollie went to Little Farriers.
Oh, Little Farriers.
Which is another one that you just overlooked. It's an exclusive booking lake, 4 or 5 acres.
Lovely little lake.
Lovely, wicked lake.
Yeah, we had a right good time, didn't we? I've almost forgotten about that.
Yeah.
It's so long ago. When's the video out?
I don't know. It's really good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we had that lake to ourselves. We walked through the gate, knew nothing about it. And we were just like, right, there's the lake. You go and tackle it. And we built up a picture of the place over 4 nights, and it all come good, didn't it?
It is, yeah.
And I like that.
We won't give too much away. But
No.
No, watch this space. Oh, there's loads. I'm just thinking there, just literally off the top of my head. I went to one the other week, Swan Valley.
There you go.
Incredible complex. Sandhurst, all in the 80 way. Again, like incredible. Like they're brilliant day ticket waters.
And then you've also got the day tickets to get overshadowed by the bigger ones. Chigwell. I know we talked
well,
about Chigwell in every
do you know,
video.
I did think about that a minute ago. I mean, it's somewhere that us at Nash have visited and used very, very frequently. And I think it's one of those venues where it's accessible for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's cheap.
Not too expensive.
Not too expensive. The fishing isn't too tricky.
No.
But, you know, if you angle well, you can be rewarded with some very cool carp, can't you?
But it's a far cry away from your commercial day ticket, isn't it? It's weedy. It's the carp are really dark. It's shallow. Like you can float a fish, you can stalk, you can. It's quite wild. It's quite wild for a day ticket, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's cool.
God, I've been to a few, mate. Orchid again, winter form as well. There, Orchid, like shallow. That's got some incredible old fish in it. That's another good day ticket. Just trying to think. It's hard to. I mean, you've got to go personally. Really, what sort of floats your boat, so to speak, in terms of a day ticket? I think you're right in saying that there's got to be. It can't be too peggy. You've got to have an opportunity to catch, even if you drop on. I don't mind it being busy. I like talking to people and doing whatever, but I've got to feel like you're able at some point in that session to have a chance to catch him on.
To get an opportunity, yeah.
You've got to have a decent stock. Let's face it, like it's got to have something to sort of, for me, it's got to have at least a few 30-pounders in it just to sort of stoke your fire. And I think it can't be like, you said it with corridor fishing, like brilliant if you like that, but it's nice to have the option to be able to split your rods, have different features to look at and sort of, change it up rather than just fish sort of the same way. For me, I don't know what you guys feel about it day ticket wise, but I think that combined with the freedom to be able to do that. I was on, and I won't name it, but I was on a day ticket complex where it was no surface fishing, no zigs, and those fish are off the deck for a lot of the time on a summer's day.
I mean, fishery owners that don't want the members to catch fish, I always find that a little bit strange, you know. And you do get that at some venues where, not necessarily day ticket venues, but all venues where they try and make it difficult. Now, if I was a fishery owner, I would try and make it as easy as possible for people to catch fish, because that's what they're there for, aren't they? I mean, I get that you want to protect your stock, but you know, you have to. There is a line, a balance to be drawn where,
That's the beauty of being a punter, though, isn't it? You know the rules. You know when you get there, and you know, like, okay, well, I might want to do that, so I'll maybe leave that one and go to another one. There's a bit more choice as a sort of an angler. But yeah, I think really it's sort of the crux of what sort of gets you going. But I think for me, those key things have got to be there. One complex. Bluebell's got so many options. It's hard for me to look past that with regards to fish stock. The different lakes on there. I'm not talking
The
about
variety of angling you can do there.
I mean, we had a lovely time, didn't we, when we went? There was something for everybody there.
You can go on mallard and do 3 rods on a spot at 100 yards and bait and catch loads.
Floater fishing as well.
Yeah, you can do. Yeah, you can go on swan, and swan's a bit of everything, really.
Bluebell, I was catching them right out of a quiet corner, which is just how I love it.
It's a cool complex, but unfortunately, it's just very, very busy.
Very busy,
as it would be.
Yeah,
to the beast. So I've got Thorny I've gone Bluebell with you, Tommy. I can't look past Bluebell, I don't think. Stannick Lake's another good one. Elson's, but again, that's a booking job. That's got some cool fish.
Stannick, I've never been there actually. I'd like to. Yeah, cool carp.
Real cool place.
Bramblemere, big up Bramblemere. Got to give them a shout out. That's exclusive booking. Welford, Bramble. Love that place.
Yeah, lovely
Love
part
it.
of the world. Yeah,
Lovely part of the world. Scaly Cotswold
You
carp.
said
like-
Ashmead. Ashmead's
yeah. I've got a friend down there at the moment. Again,
Ashmead is a bit more
Yeah,
booking.
you
You need to know people, I
Carp
guess,
Society
thinking
as
about
well.
it.
Yeah.
Well, carp site own it now, so I'm sure it's just.
no, I think you
allowed to-
can
society
literally
and then
just
you book
book
up.
it. Yeah.
Oh, I think when I was there, it was Steph owned it, and I think you needed to know someone who'd been on before, be invited to a group that's had a booking before. Basically, there's the same groups would fill every year's worth of bookings. So unless someone came out of a group and they brought you in, that's the only way I got on there, because my mate went with a group of 6 and an older geezer said he didn't want to go anymore. He was getting too old. And then he said, "Oh, Jacob, do you want to come with us?" I don't think anyone can go, so I guess that doesn't really count. But for me, that's what I was saying about, like, it's all personal perspective of what you want to get out of your session, I guess. If I could easily go to, like, we could drive now to Bluebell, go on Kingfisher, there'd be a swim free. I feel like there's loads of fish in front of me, and I feel like I can do margin fish out in the lake, maybe catch them off the top, and it could be the best session ever. I go, this is the best lake. But then I could go 9 other times, and it'd be a bit of a ball lake. I can't get in the right swim, or a blank, pay loads of money, and it annoy me. So I like a lake, if I'm going to go to a day ticket, I feel like 9 times out of 10, I've always got options to fish in different ways. And at least if I don't catch, I feel like I've tried to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and I've been engaged. Because a few times I've been to take it's busy, just put rods out. I'm not caught. I've been like,
You just go through the motions.
go through the motions, and it's not thrilling.
You don't
for
learn
me.
anything. You don't.
Yeah, but
really.
it depends what type of angler you are. If you're more like a circuit angler, or you just want big fish on your CV, then you'd be willing to sit through those blanks on somewhere like Kingfisher, knowing that you've got a good chance of a 50.
Yeah, I mean, I was speaking to Tommy at the time, and Reedy, who was fishing it, and that's literally what you're doing. Sometimes you'd go 4 or 5 days waiting to get into an area which give you a better chance.
Yeah.
And for me, like, that's just not an option. Life's too short for that, man.
And I've also got to look at it. Although I was paying a monthly fee, I was a member, so I sort of had unlimited fishing. Whereas I fully understand that a day ticket guy would be paying their 35 quid for 24 hours, and they're like, whereas I had a bit more time at my disposal, I guess. Whereas, like, if I drop in this swim in the corner for tonight, it's not the end of the world, because I've got another 2 nights to.
If that's your only night, though,
if that's my only night that I'm turning up and paying 35 quid, then yeah, I fully understand that would be a different approach altogether. I think, yeah.
So we're tied between Bluebell and Thorny.
We've done quite well there. There's a lot of other good ones, though.
That Waterside will be an interesting one. We're going for this series that I just said. We're going in October. How big's that common going to be come October?
well,
British
yeah,
record.
I'm going to be a British record holder.
It's pretty much done.
It come out the week that we've got. It come out the week before last year, just before it turned syndicate, I think, for the winter. Is that right?
Yeah.
So we've got like the end of October or something for a whole week, whole lake.
Go on, the boy.
I'll come see you, Tommy. It's only up the road.
What fish
from me.
is this? Do I know this fish?
It's a fish called the Waterside Common. I've actually caught it twice.
Yeah.
I don't think you, if you didn't know already.
Have you really?
Yeah,
How big
but
was
if you added up both captures, it would add up to the weight that it is now.
Oh,
Yeah, as a 30-pounder, I had it a couple of times, and it was moved from the small lake into the big lake, and it's just absolutely
Grown.
rocketed. Yeah,
That's mad,
it's
isn't
up
it?
there. One of the
Not
best.
even an old carpet, is it?
No,
how
I don't
big was
think
it
is.
blast out at?
64.
It was 63
God, there's a lot of
pounds.
60s down the UK, and they just come out of nowhere.
There's not many day tickets. There's not many.
struggling to catch a 60. How many
No,
60s you caught?
No, but I'm
Jacob?
saying that, like, a few years ago, like, say that was like that would be a UK record. Well, not a few years ago, obviously, but like recently, like Mozza just had a £60 fully.
Yeah, that's
in
true,
the UK.
actually. Yeah.
Another £6 common come out here. £6 common come out of here. You see more now.
There's not many day ticket lakes for the £60.
Not necessarily
Yeah,
day
everyone.
tickets,
Yeah.
but I mean lakes in general.
The likes of maybe you've got your home fen, whether that's a bit of you or not. If you wanted
It's a bit of Jacob.
or if you wanted something a little bit close to home.
That one with
I
that
like
60
it.
scallion, though, that's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's only a little lake, isn't it?
I think it was a syndicate until this year. Is that right? And then they've
Something
opened
like
it.
that. Yeah.
That's a mega fish.
Manor, is it Manor Lakes?
Yeah, I think so. I just remember
Hampshire.
it what, from Mozza, mate. What a fish that is.
But both that Manor Lakes and Waterside, they're both kind of reliant on that one big fish, aren't they? To draw the crowds in. And I think Chris, the owner of Waterside, I think he knows. He's got something special there. Although there are some really nice backup fish, there's nothing in terms of size wise that that can touch it. It's a
Big
freak.
60.
It's a super freak.
Yeah, that's
that fish, mental fish. Doesn't drop weight. Every capture, it's just getting bigger.
Just getting bigger and bigger.
Bigger and bigger.
Big old carp.
Nice. Right, from day tickets.
Big cream.
The big magnolia.
From day tickets, we'll move on. The next topic, long or short rods. I'm going to start with Jacob. Long or short? You have to pick one for the rest of your fishing days.
13-footer.
You've never used one, have you?
4.5 pounder.
£5 test. No, I honestly can't remember the last time I used a 12-foot rod. In fact, someone passed me a 12-foot rod the other day to have a little go floater fishing with it, and it just felt so weird. It felt like I was holding a big broomstick.
Well, we've just released one, haven't we? Like a beautiful 2.5 pound, 12-foot floater rod.
Yeah.
And that was, 5 years, 8 years, 10 years ago, I would have been all over that.
Yeah, and now it's like feels so weird to have such a long rod.
It does, yeah.
When I started carp angling, obviously there was never scopes hadn't come out by that point, and I just used a traditional. I think I was using like a 20-pound JRC Defender back in the day, and literally like as soon as I transitioned over to scope, which would have been 2017, 2018, I've never used a 12-foot rod since. Because the 10-foot stepped-up ones, you can cast 100 yards. So unless literally I'm going somewhere where it's serious distance fishing or like accurate spotting on a spot, and you want to have really beefed-up rods, I can't see me ever going back to 12-footers. So for me, it's short rods. But I don't like a 6, which might be a good debate. I've also never used a 6-foot rod. It's just always a 10 for me.
Always a 10?
I've hooked carp in the margin with the 10 slid in. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll slide it in and play it like... I'd rather do that and be able to slide it out, because the times I've used a 6, I just feel like I'm limited. If it like goes around the corner, you can't quite get it out or wheel.
It's half the fun, mate.
You love a 6-footer, so it's a good debate. But I don't like 6-foot rods. I just feel...
See, I don't really like the 10s, to be honest.
Don't like 10s?
Yeah, see, a lot of people, I think they struggle with getting the 9-footers because it seems like it's too short.
You might as well get a 10.
10 seems like the compromise, but you're missing out using the 10s. You really are.
What am I missing
They're
out?
a lot heavier.
Okay,
they're just not. They're a lot heavier and bulkier. They just have to be for that extra foot. So for me, like the 9-footer is the ultimate. The ultimate. Kevin, I mean, I don't think he realised when he invented or came up with the scope concept that he'd actually unwittingly invented the ultimate carp fishing rod, which is powerful at the butt and with a soft tip. You can cast a reasonable distance, and it's also practical for all other aspects of carp fishing. Alan and I, when we were going away on our Euro adventures, we used to take everything, every possible situation catered for, and that meant taking 12-foot rods. But we got to a point where there was such a hassle, like taking up room in the van, for the fact that we never bloody used them, that we made a pact that we were not going to take them anymore, and that was it. And it's brilliant, because let's face it, the problem with 12-foot rods is they're 6 fucking foot long.
That's what I mean. They're not even. It's not even like 10, 12 to 10, because the 12s aren't retractable. Yeah. So it's like almost like having a 5-foot rod, isn't it? Because you've got 6 foot with a 12-footer. So I'd be carrying it round on the tube, hitting everything, getting in the way. Oh, such a headache.
Mate, we used to go fishing on the bus when we were kids. Me and my mate, a seat box, 6-foot rod holder on a net bag up to the back so we could smoke a fag on the back seat. Yeah,
standard.
Mental.
Yeah.
Tommy, we going? They've both gone short. 9-footers, 10-footers.
10-footers for me. But I've got no qualms about using a 9. Yeah, I just happen to have 10s at the moment, and I have done for the last few years, and I've not used anything else. I think that when was the last time I used a 12-foot rod? Bled, probably 18 months ago.
Yeah, see, I only took 9-footers to Bled.
Could I have got away with a 10-footer? Probably. I was fishing at about 110, 5 yards.
Well, part of it was the reel. See, I was using the scope reel, which have got quite a small spool, and that really restricts your casting more than the rod itself.
You're right. It's the reel doing it.
So, I mean, when I first started using the scopes, I was using really small reels with them as well. And actually, as I've done more and more fishing, I now just use a big pit on them. I find that's the biggest restriction, is the reel, not the rod itself.
Yeah.
What do you think the difference is between the distance casting of a 9 and 10? Because I found my friend uses 10 1/4, and when I pick up his rod and go to cast
10 1/4?
it feels so much softer.
3 1/4, you mean?
So 10 foot. Yeah, I've got 10 foot 3.5. He's got 10 foot 3 1/4.
Yeah.
Right.
And the difference, I feel like mine's so much stronger than his. even just that slight step up.
Alan
so I
and
can't
I-
imagine going down to a 9. You must lose another 10.
Alan and I always have this debate about the 3s and the 3.5s, you know, and when people say which is the best all-round rod, I'll always say the 3 and he'll say the 3.5 and he'll use it for floater fishing and everything. And okay, let's face it, it is more versatile because you can do everything with it.
But it's stiffer.
But it's stiff.
Yeah,
It's
it is
too
a lot.
stiff for me.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's too stiff for me. For me, the 3 is the ultimate, you know, and I don't do a lot of distance casting, but it's the ultimate boat playing rod, you know.
Yeah.
I've had massive carp from Rainbow and that using it. And people say, what, you took your scopes to Rainbow? Like they weren't up to the job.
Yeah.
They are the perfect boat rod because they retract to like 6 foot as well in a small boat. So, yeah.
12 footers for me, boys. Forget your short rods, mate. I like them. I use them. I love scopes. But I think for the angling that I do, which is majority sort of, I don't know,
of Munger,
day
innit?
ticket, bit of Munger. Mate, I need, and also, like my little T-Rex arms, I need every inch of carbon that I can get to get out there, boy. I'm trying to think, like the furthest I've stuck a lead, I think, with 3.5 scopes is at a push is like 110. Like a lot of the day tickets, depending on where you're fishing, you have got to fish there or further in order to sort of maybe capitalise on where the fish hold up. So for me, I prefer a longer rod. I also like the playing action of them and that, I don't know, that little bit more length. I don't know what it is, but for me, I feel more comfortable. Maybe it's just because I've done more with that length of rod. Even in the edge, like I know they're cumbersome, especially when I've seen some of the spots that you bait and fish, but...
Oh, you couldn't
I've
fish.
fished them.
You couldn't
Yeah,
fish
exactly.
them with a 12-foot rod. In fact, we have a rule at Horton that if you're going to fish in the
said
the
that to
holes,
me.
no, it's important. You have to use a suitable tackle.
Yeah.
And that's not using a 12-foot rod in the middle of a bush.
Yeah, I like them, mate. If I had to choose one, I think it gives you a bit more... Not in those extreme circumstances where you're fishing little
That's
holes.
not extreme, mate. That's day to day.
Not in those extreme
Yours are the extreme circumstances. You're getting it mixed up.
The debate's come in.
No, but it's true though, isn't it? For the majority of people, most of their fishing is not fishing 120 yards. That's
No.
That's the very occasional.
No, but what I'm saying in a marginal sense is I could fish 120 yards and I could fish 2 yards as long as that 2 yards
Isn't under a
is
bush.
not in a little poke hole where I need some sort of specialised kit. But in a swim, let's say on a day ticket, with that rod, a 12-footer, I could fish 120, I could fish 2. In a very extreme circumstance, margin fishing, which is Horton or wherever, there might be a little poke hole, which it isn't designed for. And I'm more than willing to go to scopes for that. If I'm in a boat, I'll go to scopes. But if I'm doing my angling on day tickets, mongering, 12 footers.
So basically, you carry 3 sets of rods everywhere.
Nah.
No, see, this is the issue. So you don't carry scopes and you
12
don't
footers.
carry 6-footers. So basically, you're limited in your
So if there's a
angling.
little hole with 240s feeding
No. I'll have a consideration. I'll have a consideration as to where I'm going. So if I'm going somewhere where it's going to be more beneficial for me to fish with, so I went to Swan Valley last week. Let me give you an example. Swan Valley, I've just taken 3.5 pound 10-foot scopes. So I can bushwhacker to little tight overhangs.
you don't need to
I can
cast
fish in
fire there, do you?
I don't need to cast. So it's ruled out. And normally the venues that I go, there will be. But there are instances where there's some venues where there are chucking swims. Chigford's an example. There's a couple of long range swims where you need a bit of a scope to chuck. And I will have some 12-footers that are in the van and have my scopes for majority of the work. So there will be 2 sets of rods, but not quite 3. I haven't got any 6-footers, I don't think. Have I? I might have 1. But yeah, that's pretty much my thinking is 90% of the time, if I had to choose one, it would be 12-footers.
I think most anglers are probably the same. The 12-foot. 12-foot is the length that they've been indoctrinated to use in most of their carp fishing.
I'll tell you what I'll do.
Did you like that?
It's hard,
He's digging me right out.
It's harder because I was fishing last night, fishing like 25 wraps, say, which isn't far, but with like a bit of a crosswind, with a 10-foot scope, you can get it, but it's like you do have to hit it. And if you don't commit to a single cast, like I was putting like 12 mini dot spots out, and it's like you have to really commit, or if you don't commit, you'll fall short. Whereas if like with a 12, if you're used to using 12 and a big reel, that's just light work, innit? Doink. That's the difference. But so if I was doing that all the time, I may take the 12s. But for me, that would be 5% of my angling. For you, it may be 60%. So it's all like horses for courses, what your preferred style is, isn't it?
We're going for you've gone for 10-footers, haven't you?
Yeah, but what I was going to say, why I choose a 10-foot is because it gives me that extra foot of control. It's nothing to do with casting far. It's nothing to do with the weight or whatever. I think that extra foot, if I was going to linear, for example, and fishing where them swims are like so close, I would use 12-foot rods because I think that'll be my best chance of keeping the fish under control and not keeping it in my water and not wiping out matey to the left of my right.
What do you fish kingy with?
Go on.
12s. I fished for the majority of kingy, but I had my scopes with me as well. Like, you just drive your van behind your swim. Like, I took them both because I caught several fish out of edge, putting rods under trees. So I wouldn't have been able to do with a 12-footer or a bushwhack or whatever. So
yeah,
could you have
but
fished
there's no
with
denying
10s for the whole of your fishing on Kingfisher?
I was a lot of the time I was fishing zigs, 12, 13-foot zigs in about 15 foot of water.
Right, so you want that extra length to cast?
It'd be a bit awkward. Not to cast, landing them.
That's about about the limit. I use 9-footers with zigs up to about 15 foot.
Yeah,
as long as you've got a really long handle on your landing net, you're all right.
The chances are I had someone that I knew was fishing left or right of me. So
you
they
usually
could come,
do,
yeah. So they could come and net them for me. But yeah, the only time I think of using 12-footers probably or need to is real distance, obviously zigging or. When tight swims, control.
Yeah.
Because you can't argue that the fact that a 6-foot or 9-foot rod's got more control than a 12-foot rod.
Depends how you play them.
I was going to say
this is if you watch Matchmen, how they play their fish.
Yeah, but I do that with my floater fit. Yeah,
you put the rod tip down, and they tend not to kite so much. So then it's not really so length dependent.
No.
If you hold the rod up in the air, whether it's 10-foot or 15-foot, the fish is more likely to kite than if you keep the rod tip down.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, and I do that. Yeah, I do. I've learnt to play my fish low.
What we need to do is get some 6-footers, get them out in the middle of linear on a tight swim.
So you can wipe out the most.
So you can wipe out. Total wipe out.
Yeah, that's a good point. 'Cause thinking about that, I can see why a 6-footer doesn't have much control. Ollie probably argue this in the edge and stuff like that.
No, you don't. You have to use your arms as an extension of the
Whereas
rod.
if a 10, but I can't see why at range dragging between 6 and 12 would make that much difference.
No, it doesn't.
Because if it kites with any length of rod, it's still going to kite. You can't do that much.
I just feel
but you've got
better control.
But I don't know because I've not done it.
I reckon you do. Not to be fair, I've never.
You reckon, do you?
I've never had a 6-footer like 120 yards out in the pond and had a bite.
So you wouldn't know.
So I wouldn't know. But I'm thinking just from the amount of carbon that you've got and the amount of sort of bend, if you like, and the length.
You're already thinking too much.
I reckon you're all right, mate. I reckon you got more control. The more, the better, mate.
Tommy's still thinking
No,
about
I
it.
agree with you.
I was on it.
I'm there, mate.
I'll stick up for you on that one, yeah.
I don't fancy trying to control something in my little bit of water on a 6-footer, mate. I think I'd be absolutely shredded. Sorry, mate.
You'd be shredded anyway, mate.
Nah, man, rock hard. You know
Yeah, we might have to disagree on that one.
I don't think there's a right or wrong, lads. It actually depends on what fish you work, doesn't it? And whether it's a mentalist or whether it flip-flops its way straight back into the net.
And how quick you got out of your bed chair.
Nice. Right, rods sorted. A lot of short. I'm gone out the box.
I think there is
so
not one size fits all for a fishing rod, isn't it? I think it's personal preference.
There's a diplomatic answer there.
But the 10
for a
foot,
change.
if there is one that suits the most, it's a 10 foot, in my opinion.
That's sitting on the fence. That's like
It
sitting
doesn't
on
work for everything.
Short
but
ones
it
are
works.
better. Go and buy scopes.
Yeah.
But a 6 foot's very
Why don't
limited.
you
A 12
buy-
foot's for long distance, and a 10 foot does a bit of everything. So that would be.
Yeah, why don't you buy a sawn off? Why don't you buy some scopes and then buy some 12-footers?
Yeah,
You
you
need
need them
them
all.
I think what you're kind of missing out with the 6-footers though is that how much fun they are to play fish on. It's fun, like it's exciting when you've got to, use your arm as an extension of the carbon because it's a little bit short,
Yeah.
So
Have you lost many
on 6-footers
that you can actually say was because of the rod?
No, not for that reason. I mean, there are occasions where you might like a bit of reach as they're going down the margin, but if that's the case, you just jump in, don't you? Makes it more exciting.
I can't imagine you doing
He's not-
that.
He ain't jumping in no more. Yeah.
He saw a 50. It's gone in the snag. No, it's gone in.
Okay, same question to you then. Have you lost a fish from using a 12-foot rod that you think if I had a shorter rod on, I might have been able to land that? Or
No, definitely not. Because if I've needed a shorter rod, I've either used a scope, but I haven't been in that situation where I've lost one because of the rod, I don't think.
I mean, there's you've got the control issue, but you've also got how much force you're putting down the rod. And the longer the rod, the less force you're actually putting down it because you're putting more into actually bending the carbon. So a short rod you can pull harder on than a long rod, which is why they're great for, snag fishing or, anywhere where you've got to really give them some teddy, them 6 foot rods. You're actually applying more pressure to them than when you're bending your 12 foot rod and you're putting all that effort into actually bending it and not much effort into pulling.
I play them pretty light anyway, mate. I must put nothing through them at all. They must
Not give
even
it,
know
is he?
they're up. They must just come in and
Take it nice and easy.
What's going on here? No, I don't think a rod has cost me I've ever pulled out because I've given them too much or because there's too much carbon or because they're too long or whatever. I wouldn't say that, no, mate. Definitely not. I've just lost them because I'm inept. Moving on.
Yeah,
right, we've done rods. We're going to rigs. One rig for the rest of your days. I'm going to go with Tommy Forman because he's not started. Go on, Tommy.
Zig rig.
Ooh, controversial. No, but if anybody was going to say zig, it'd be you, Tommy.
Yeah.
Zig rig.
I'd like to go fishing with you, actually, do a bit of zig fishing.
Zig rig. We have this. We talk about this for video ideas. Yeah, sorry, I went. Yeah, we can.
Yeah. Move off that.
Nah.
Anyway,
No, because I see you do a lot of it, and I don't do a lot of it.
I
at
love
all,
it.
So I'd love a bit of a Tommy masterclass.
Do you know, like I often use him as if I'm at somewhere where I'm sort of not struggling, but if like I'm struggling to work out what to do, I often think to myself, what would Tommy do in this situation?
Ooh, that's a good compliment.
No, well,
It is a good compliment.
No, but
That's
it
a
is
big old
because, and I mean that because Tommy's proper versatile, and a lot of us are pigeonholed. I'd much rather fish on the bottom if I could, but there are times when you have to be far less. What's the word? Tunnel vision in your approach, and I think Tom, you'll do whatever is needed. Whatever. Fish at all costs. No, I don't mean it like that. But no, Tom's like definitely a jack of all trades.
I'd say so.
He's not a master of none. Look at him.
I didn't add that
you
bit.
out
You added that
Digging
bit.
you out.
No, but you're confident in fishing.
Yeah, you're versatile.
I'll do. Yeah, I think so. But in particular with zig rigs, a couple of we know how devastating they are. Like we've done enough videos and whatnot about them.
We know how devastating we are, don't we, Hassan?
We do know how
We do.
devastating they are.
But,
we'll see a video coming soon.
People always go, zigs in the spring or whatever, and they are obviously at their most deadliest in the spring with the natural hatches and the warming, increasing temperatures and whatnot. But they're just as good in the summer. They're just as good in the autumn. They're just as good in the winter. Winter's the one, mate.
Yeah.
I would never use them in autumn, but interestingly, a couple of lads on K1 were
Just
using
keep
them
doing it.
in October
Yeah.
when the fish were up on the top, and I would never put a zig out in
Yeah.
October. And I do use a zig. I love them, but I wouldn't at that time of year. But it did do bites, so maybe I need to rejig my thinking a little bit.
I just think we have this thing in the office where I say it all the time. Like if it got to a beginning of the year, we should make a video about this because I think it would be a really interesting watch. If someone said to you, wherever you go fishing, your syndicates, your dating, whatever you do over the course of that 12 months, if you were only allowed to use zigs, whether it be short zigs or up in layers or whatever, would you catch more or catch less fish? Catch less or catch more than
More.
You would.
It would be different.
So why don't we all just zig fish?
Because it's not like Ollie likes watching people like doing, you know what I mean? It is pretty. I did it this winter a lot, and it was devastating. I caught fish, but it's pretty dull, isn't it?
Do you know how?
No, that's sick. I love it. Catch loads.
Dull.
I
How
think
many
it's a lot
people
of fun.
like really enjoy the act of feeding the carp though?
That's
You
what I
know,
mean.
we sell a lot of bait based on it being good nutritionally for the carp. And and some people I think like to think that they're putting something back by putting a certain amount of good quality bait into the lake.
Yeah.
Zig fishing,
Nothing.
you only need a bit of microphone foam, don't you?
Yeah,
That's
just cast. You
literally
just
it.
cast them anywhere. It's
That's what I was
fucking.
going to say to you. The thing that puts me off zig fishing.
Do you want to put the mic in your mouth before you talk?
Yeah, you.
Oh,
you will come-
flapjack
I don't
Jim.
want it on me flat
He's just
jack.
tucked into the scroll and then he's
Mate,
got
I was
mic
hungry.
cast off.
You always bring the snacks, that'll do me.
That's a bite.
Go on.
That's what I don't like about it. I don't mind fishing singles, but a zig single, it really feels like a needle in a haystack for the carp to come. Swallow that tiny bit of foam. I know it works, but are you ever baiting I do a lot of sloppy spod zig fishing.
No. I'm seeing
never just like your that bit of foam out. I do it.
It's opportunist fishing. It's lure fishing, isn't it?
I will use them, and we did
lure fishing.
We'll use them instead of floater fishing. Sometimes where they're up for floater fishing, but they're a little bit hammered on the surface, or for whatever reason. Sometimes a zig just under the surface, and you're feeding mixes over the top. It's a really good tactic.
That's when I like zig fishing, but you don't. You literally would just be.
I'm lure fishing for them,
a bit like when Hassan and I went
single hook bait fishing.
Went to the Cotswolds. You know, like once I'd seen the lake bed, I knew that it was going to be a waste of time finding a spot on the bottom and fishing it.
And it was shallow in the bird life.
I knew that my best chance was going to be fishing a zig somewhere in the mid layers, crystal clear, as long as I could get on the carp. Location's still your most important aspect.
Absolutely.
And if you can get on them, then they're at least as good. At least as good as fishing on the bottom.
What about at night? Because you say lure fishing,
and at night as well,
so they can visually see this thing and they go, "Oh, an 100%. Insect," and eat it. But about at night time, because at night time they can't. Let's say they can't see it.
I've had about 12 fish now out of Bayswater this spring in the last 6 weeks, and half of them have been on nighttime zigs. Between midnight and 3 a.m. Flavourless black foam.
Yeah, very very.
So
good
they're
tactic.
feeling it.
They see that
silhouette against the moonlight.
They're seeing it, or they're detecting it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the reasons why I use a big bit of foam. This is, I think, over the last sort of 10 or 15 years, there's been a bit of a debate, and you see a lot of. I mean, when we released the zig bugs, they were quite small, weren't they? A lot of them. Certainly, like for me, I want something that's big. We're fishing for big fish. You're fishing for fish that they can't touch it with their fingers, or hands. They have to suck it in and eat it. So you want something that's big enough for them to notice it, to make that deliberate action.
Alan says it, doesn't he, with his balloon in the room theory about having a balloon in a room. Like, you walk into a room, there's a balloon in there, you're automatically like intrigued, aren't you? You're like, what is that? Why is that balloon there? We can touch it and we can feel it, but a carp has to. Why are you laughing at that? It's a great theory.
It's so random.
I'm just
That's not
picturing a
random.
room and a balloon and you going towards it.
Well, no, like a helium
It's like
balloon on a
Hobbit
string.
bit.
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah. But like eventually you're going to tap it, aren't you? Or
You
you're
have
going
to.
do
We're
something
inquisitive.
with it,
Carp are
like-
inquisitive.
Yeah.
And if you can put it in between a hatch, then it's just game on, for example, like if it's that time of year.
If they're feeding
But
anyway in the upper layers.
The number one reason why it'll be my go-to, if you said pick one, which you have done, then I'd pick a zig rig, is because no matter how many videos we put out on zig rig fishing, no matter how many catch reports, how many videos we say, all you got to do is do this to catch them, no one fishes zig still.
No. I mean, there was a guy
They
yesterday.
don't.
I was with Reedy on K1, and one of the guys, he was like, "Oh, I never use zig rigs."
Yeah.
Like that was his.
People are scared of them because they're messy, and
He's
they
an
are.
experienced angler. He's fished for years and years and years, but some people just can't get a head around it.
And I've seen the same. I've spoke to some other experienced guys that have caught more than I'll ever catch in my life, and they're just like, I can't. No, I don't want to.
But it costs them fish.
100%.
It costs them fish having that
100%.
attitude. Yeah.
And I still think for the next 15, 20, 10, 15 years, if you said to me, what's the biggest edge in carp, it'll be zig rigs because no one uses them. Like,
But you said messy. It's the least messy type of fishing. You've literally
but
butchered
there's
it.
this aura over it, isn't there, that people are
It's a long hook length.
look at it and just automatically go, ooh. And then when you put adjustables in there,
It's the easiest type of fishing
Yeah.
as well.
wicked, mate. You cast anywhere.
Literally cast anywhere. Anywhere.
Don't
And
get
you
me
don't
wrong,
need any
there's
bait.
I'm not doing that. I'm putting a lot of effort into it, and a lot of method into my depth and my location. Like you say, it's still all about location, and the depth is also very important.
Yeah.
So it's constantly, I still think I'm doing something all the time. I'm not just going, 3 bits of foam out, right, kettle on. I'm working those zigs constantly. Like,
Would you go to the lake, say you see fish, and you're like, I'm going to zig fish? Would you put a marker float out, get the exact depth, and tie zigs to it? So
not
how
if
would
there's, ideally, yeah. I'd love to do that. I'd love to
If
know
you
the
don't
depth.
know what the
If you
depth
don't have a
is, then
clue.
that's important. But sometimes what I'll do is I'll guess it. I'll cast once, just guess it by the drop, tie a slightly longer link, and I'll just have a couple of casts, and I'll gradually bite a bit of the hook link off until I'm sure it's just under
you
the
get a bite.
surface.
To be honest, I've done it long enough now. You can
Gauge.
Yeah,
you can
sort of-
judge
you know it's
whether
like
it's
10
10
or
foot.
12.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
and I'll just go off that. But if the fish are there, obviously cruising around, I don't want to be casting a massive orange mark float in front of them. So
of course,
I would guess it, minimal cast, light lead, and then just go from there. Yeah, and if I haven't caught one, then if you need to get a bit more technical, I mean, you or Henry would probably put one of your deepers out, wouldn't you? That'd tell you.
Precisely, that's the reason why I was asking. I'm
Yeah,
joking.
yeah.
I was asking more. Where's your
Available from all good retailers, $279.99.
Well,
What
but
has this podcast
on a
become?
serious note, that is one of the main use cases that I use it for. But I wasn't doing it as a sales.
No,
ploy.
but
I was genuinely asking because whenever I've gone to zig
It's
fish,
another alternative now,
I like to be a
Jacob.
perfectionist, and
5
I
years.
can't get perfection with a zig when I don't know the exact depth. So it annoys me that I'm like, oh, it feels about 13, but could be 11.
Yeah.
I want to go 3 foot from the top. I've had a bite. Oh, but I don't actually know the exact depth it was, so I forgot. That's where it annoys me a bit. And the reason why I've never zig fished is because most of the places I fish are so snaggy. You have to go light, and I would lose I've lost already a lot of fish on zigs.
The thing
so I
is, you
just
don't
won't fish
have
on.
to go light though. That's the thing. You know, like
What
I
do you
use
class as
a
light?
big hook, and I'll use up to 15-pound hook length.
Okay.
You don't, you know, and I mean like a size 6. I know my mate Tell uses a size 4 and a big chunk of foam. So you shouldn't have to play them any lighter or stand any more chance of losing them than you would. You know, don't get me wrong. Like if you can get away with it, I'll use 8-pound line, but I'd be quite happy using 15 as long as it floats the.
And also people presume you're using zigs. You were using a massive long hook link, but zigs can also be 2-foot hook link
Off the
sitting
bottom.
above weed, can't they?
They
So
can.
that's pretty much a leg clip and a rig anyway. What you would be doing on the bottom.
I mean, you can't fish them at the church anymore, but that used to be devastating, didn't
Devastating,
it?
mate,
Like a
yeah.
2-foot zig in amongst all the tadpoles off the island. I mean, you've got plenty doing that, haven't you?
I do it at Bayswater as well. He's got eelgrass in Bayswater, and I cast the lead out and it's constantly growing. Obviously, as the year progresses, so I'll put a griplet lead out at the beginning of the session or just a lead, pull some back, measure it roughly, and that'll deter how well I'm fishing my zig.
So you know you're fishing somewhere above
Yeah. So although it's a sig rig still, but it's not necessarily in the top third as everyone always presumes.
Yeah, because that's what the thing is, isn't it? Yeah, couple of foot from the surface, but sometimes it's just off the bottom.
Well, mate, to be fair, you've got over depth zigs and fishing off the top as well. You could do that, can't you, mate? You've got
That's what I like,
Fair
the more
few,
visual
a fair
side of
few
it.
options with the old zig. What are you going for, Jacob? You're not going zigs.
I'm not going zigs, but not because I don't believe that zigs work. I think that zigs is definitely something that I would like to use more in my angling, but it's just not something that suits the type of angling I do. Canals, things like that, the small part lakes where I don't need to. If I'm really struggling, I'll always think zig. Like what you said, what would Tom do? I think, what would these anglers do? What should I do to catch more? And sometimes it is zigs and I try them. It's just that most of the time I normally do end up getting results off the bottom. So I'm going to go with the bottom bait rig for that reason. And never anything difficult. Like obviously when the Ronnie rig came out, that was mega easy because you could change the hook over. And I think people were a bit like, oh, Ronnie rig. But when they realised quite how efficient it was, so for a pop-up, I'll use a Ronnie rig.
You've got one rig here, mate. How many rigs are you pulling out? You go Ronnie rig for the whole.
I was going to give you a pop-up and a bottom.
one rig, mate.
One rig to rule them all, mate. Yeah.
I'll
One
have
rig.
a zig, a floater. I'll have a. Jeez. come
Okay,
on, man.
one rig. Okay.
I mean, we only all use 3, the rest of us. So, like, you know, you just got to pick one.
Okay.
No, he's got to think.
What? Okay, I'm not going to go pop-up then. I'm going to go for
I know what you're going for straight away.
like a slip D.
There it is.
Yeah.
Multi-rig job.
Multi-rig, yeah, because I've always used a simple bottom bait rig. Used to use like a hair rig, then transitioned over to a D rig. But then it started to annoy me that I couldn't change the hook. I have to tie the whole thing over and over again. I'm really meticulous in if I catch, say, a couple of bream nuisance fish, something happens, I will tie a new rig at 3 a.m. every time. I'll never put the rod away. I'll always get them back out. But it was so annoying. 2 a.m. having to tie 2 new rigs. You'll have a couple of small ones or bream. So now I just use where you can slip the loop off, fresh hook, back on, back out. And I don't use anything else. You can use that as a wafter. You can use it as a bottom bait. You can put a snowman on there. So it's really versatile. The only time I wouldn't use that is if I'm needing to use a pop-up. But 80% of the time...
To be
it's
fair,
that.
you could put a bit of putty or a split shot on it and
have it lift.
it'd be a pop-up
Yeah.
rig anyway. So that's probably the most versatile.
That is
isn't
definitely
it?
the most versatile because there's occasions where I think the pop-up's too blatant, especially with a lot of the fishing I do close quarters. You don't want some off the bottom, especially rivers as well. They can see it moving.
I love a pop-up in the rivers.
I don't know. They love them. Depends.
Have you not watched Alfie's video?
I love a pop up in the edge as well, don't I?
But I've seen them in like the stream, for example, and certain like on the lee where it's clear in the edge where you've got a bit of flow, you've got a pop up, it wafts, and I've seen fish come into the spot and spook off them.
Yeah.
Sometimes they hone in on it, and you can get extra bites, but other times they can drift away from it. But bottom bait is a safe bet.
This
always.
is the whole pop-up thing. You know, I've had
debate.
this discussion. Does it
drag more?
No, I want the fish to see the hook bait, and I want them to make a decision.
First.
No, I just want them to have to make a decision: eat it or don't eat it.
But if they
simple as that.
What if they don't eat it?
Don't give them time to.
It's game
time
over.
to think about
But
it.
if you had a bottom bait, it could feed and eat it by accident. So what's the odds?
Most of the time they eat it. No, you're right. You are right. There are times. Okay, this week I was being fed over. They were fizzing. I couldn't see it, but they were fizzing all over me. And after an hour, I should have had a bite. I knew I should have had a bite. I was fishing a yellow pop up. What did I do? I whipped it in. I didn't put a bottom bait rig on. I put a pink pop up on.
And they took it.
15 minutes later, it was gone. So like it had made that decision not to eat the yellow one. They were feeding all around it, but put something else in front of them. And again, quick decision, and it ate it. I've spent a lot of time watching them in the edge, and I have not found a bottom bait rig that is less or more than 50% efficient. Whereas like a pop-up rig, a multi-rig, pretty much every fish that eats it will hook itself. You might only have a few, you might have half as many fish eat it because half of them choose not to, but they will all hook themselves. And most of the time they're the big ones.
Do you, we talked about this on our rig podcast we've done the other week. I said I would, when I'm fishing in the edge or over gravel, even with a tight better bait, pellet, flake or whatnot, my first portal call would still always be to fish a pop-up over the top of it.
It blew people's minds on the wall pack.
Yeah.
Like Curly, the carpiest carper that you know out there, he couldn't get his head round me dumping a small pile of seed and then fishing a bright orange pop-up over the top of it.
But are you doing that? Go on, sorry.
Yeah.
Are you doing that because of to get a quick bite, obviously? But are you doing it anything to do with hooking and nailing them? Because I always think if I can hook them on a pop-up, I would rather hook them on a pop-up because I just think you land it. I just don't think they don't fall off.
Agreed. Well, because here's the thing: if they're feeding, you've got them grabbing around, and they pick up your double tiger or your critically balanced tiger, but they're just grabbing around. They haven't deliberately picked it up.
Yeah,
they've just picked it up as part of what they're feeding on. Much easier for them to eject it because it's just part of the sorting process. Whereas if they've chosen to eat that pop-up,
and it's in that position off the deck, ready to
it doesn't, mate. It doesn't. It's very rarely they'll suck it in and spit it out.
Yeah.
They suck it in and they're done. They're hooked.
And
you're waiting for them to bolt off.
And when they are hooked and bolted off,
you don't lose.
I just think they don't fall off, man.
You don't lose, man.
Good hook holds, isn't they?
Not just a multi-rig, but just a pop-up.
Just a pop-up, yeah. This is not necessarily about a particular rig.
No.
This is about a short, low-lying pop-up presentation. Yeah, and you tend to hook them in a part of the mouth that it won't.
You want to hook them where you want to hook them.
Yeah, for sure.
So why the multi and not the Ronnie or any other small hinge or something that's like that for you?
First of all, is the changing the hook business. Now, people say, oh, it's really easy to change a hook on a Ronnie. It's not if you use shrink tube. And I see people shrinking their hook to their...
Oh, right, yeah.
So it's a one-shot deal. You have to deconstruct the rig to put the hook on. So for me, that's not an easy hook change rig, the way a lot of people tie a Ronnie. It's not. You also have this enormous clunky bit of metal, which makes it... I've had this discussion this week with Henry and and Alan as well, actually. They both think that a Ronnie has more movement than my multi because it's got a swivel on it. Because to their mind, because it spins, it's got more movement. But what they're not taking into account is that swivel, that ring swivel, is adding mass. It's not just about movement, it's about weight and mass. Now, my multi-rig, the only weight on that hook section is the hook. There's no other bits of metal. There's nothing that will slow it down or make it heavier, and if you spin it, it is the most free spinning type of rig. You can compare it. Henry's going, no, it spins more on a Ronnie, but it doesn't. You can get both of them, and I did it before I made this claim because there's no point thinking about it and then not trying it because that's bollocks basically. So if you spin them both around, there's no doubt in my mind that a multi. And also another point is that I put the weight on the boom section. I never put the putty on the hook section. I see people doing that, but to me, that's messing up the mechanics of the rig because you've now added mass to that hook section, which will make it less likely to spin, less movement. So yeah, it's for me, it's actually quite scientific, And you can change the hook easily. You can recycle every component, including the bead that I use, which, I shouldn't really say that for a tackle company, should I? I should be trying to sell you more hook link and more hooks. But ultimately, for me, it's actually quite economical as well. You use the same hook length for.
Do you not think the putty helps in?
It does, yeah.
Setting the hook a
it
little
does,
bit
and this is
closer
another
to the
thing.
hook.
I always overweight mine. I see everybody critically balanced in their pop-ups, but for me, when that pop-up goes in the fish's mouth, the minute it stops sucking, it falls because it's overweighted.
Yeah.
And that's
And there's
what
no
hooks
space
them.
for it to hover and be spat out. It's already sat on
You
the
hook
bottom.
them immediately. Yeah. So a lot of people they overthink their rigs, but they're not thinking about the right things. Do you know what I mean? For me, it's quite simple. So yeah, I won't balance my hook bait. I want it to be overweighted because I want that hooking potential, and I also don't want it wafting around when the fish are feeding and sucking and blowing. The last thing you want is your rig flying around everywhere. So
we talked about this on the old rigs podcast, didn't we? If you're fishing over a bit of bait, we do what I like them pinned like proper because of all that going on. But if you're fishing a single, maybe over a load of weed or something, and it's sitting on top, you want it to be a little bit more responsive. But generally, like you were saying, if you're fishing over a bit of seed or whatever,
for hooking potential,
I've got
a pop up over a bit of seed. Ooh.
I've got a debate here. I've got a good debate.
A debate within a debate.
Yeah, and this has been tested, Ollie.
Go on then.
Oh, here we go.
It's not just in the mind.
Not just thinking
the
about it. I
Lennon
wasn't
in the
thinking
mind.
late last
So I was
night.
fishing a park lake.
No.
No way. What? Yeah. Really?
You haven't told us about
This is a park lake surrounded by trees, and
Crackheads.
in the early winter.
Crackheads and alkies.
Idiot. Yeah. And so obviously the bottom's littered with leaf debris, and I'm thinking, what's the best rig to fish over this? I'm bushwhacking right up to snags, so there's going to be the most amount of leaf debris in that area that I'm fishing as well. Now there's leaves in the edge, so I had a little mess around testing a few things, and I just picked up on what you said about you said actually about a light rig. You don't want it lifting up. You want it to be not critically balanced. You want it to be heavy so that it stays pinned down to the bottom. But I was finding if I kicked a few times with a heavier rig on, which is what I would normally use, bit of putty in the middle, bit of putty just under the hook.
Yeah.
So it stays down with a little wafter just sitting off the hook. I found if I went like that in the edge, as if a fish is gill feeding on the spot, the leaves all lift up and then land and cover your rig completely. Sticks go on your hook. I was reeling a few times, sticks and stuff on my hook where I was getting a nice drop, fish are feeding, and suddenly my hook's in a stick. So I purposely took all the putty off and made it critically balanced so that when everything kicks up, the rig kicks up as well and then falls back safely on top of the leaf debris. And I was catching doing that.
Yeah, but you've done that for a very specific
But there's
reason.
no doubt the carp were spooking off it as well as it's lifting. But I just knew that there was more chance it would then be lighter than the leaves and land back on top of them because I was pulling every time of a leaf or a twig or...
I get that. Again, like Ollie said, it's
very specific.
Ultimately, angling is problem solving,
Yeah.
and you've had a situation which needed you to adjust your tactics, and you've solved the problem. So
But I
that's
couldn't
good.
see what was
It's good
going on. I
angling.
wondered if you'd had that same thing where you could see. I couldn't see if I was losing opportunities as well by fish spooking off the lifted rig.
If I can see it, I tend to be fishing on a clear area because I won't have placed
leaves,
it on
yeah.
deliberately on a. But yeah,
Lower leaf, yeah.
I take your point there. Yeah,
So we got multi-rig.
I didn't actually say the multi, but yeah.
Oh, is it multi?
I think we were talking
Oh, you just
about.
give away secrets. mate.
Jeez, not a multi. I mean,
No, I did. Yeah, definitely for me the multi.
multi,
Yeah.
slip D
Oh, it's
multi.
like slip
D multi, isn't it?
As a bottom bait, but it's interesting
Yeah.
because we've chosen pop up, bottom, and zig.
Bit of both.
Yeah,
Bit of
I've got
everything.
Zig, I like that.
Yeah.
mate.
What about
It's
you,
in the middle.
Hassan?
Yeah, go on.
Mine would either be. It'd have to be. I was torn between a choddy and a hinge stiff rig. Would be my two. That same.
But it's-
I've caught them on the deck on hinge stiffies as well, like not knowingly. Obviously, in the formative years, fishing literally,
Cultured up,
fishing
mate,
literally,
on your-
mate. Like that stiff hook section. I think with a soft boom.
Well, look at the spinner rig now. You know how many people use that as a bottom bait rig.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
And I
true.
would never consider using
No,
that.
I
as a
wouldn't.
bottom
I
wouldn't do it
for the
now.
very same reason of the extra bulk and mass. You know,
Clunky.
let's not talk weight, but the mass that you have there attached to the hook.
I just think that style of, and I see it now, and I've used it because I didn't fish chods for a very long time. It came out of fashion. I fished elsewhere, other rigs, Ronnies, etc. But I think there's a lot to be said, and I've seen it now more. I've done a few podcasts with a few anglers who still fish throwing sticks, spreads of boilies, that sort of reactive style with a choddy or a hinge with whatever boom you want to fish. I think if there is an opportunity as a show, you can be an awful lot more reactive rather than going in a swim, whacking a lead out, trying to find something clear to present on, boshing a few spoms over the top and that activity dispelling. You can angle pretty effectively with regards to if you do see something and be reactive. So I reckon
Alan would always choose a choddy for that reason. I think Hassan, you're chucking it out and you're fishing, aren't you? Same as your zigs, Tommy. You're never really not fishing. Save some of them for us, Jacob.
Choddy single hook bait. Again, keep saying it, but it's like lure fishing as well, isn't it? Bite one, trying to get a quick bite in where the fish are passing, or
even over bait though. I think, mate, rather than and as I said, I'm only going from it from a sort of a. It becomes fashion, doesn't it? You go onto a venue, you go onto a day ticket venue, and you see probably 95% of the anglers fish exactly the same way, and the fish do through being caught and just wise up to that approach, seeing the same thing. Whereas you get somebody who comes onto a venue who might be either an old school angler or might just come at things a different way, fish completely differently. He like chods or hinges over a big spread of boilie or even singles, and they'll catch them because it's something they don't see. I think nowadays in that scene, that reactive style of fishing, seeing Summit Show being able to just literally flick a light lead and be fishing, you don't see that many people across the day ticket complexes that I've been at do that. It's find a spot, it's put some bait out, it's wait.
Do you think that you gain more opportunities than lost opportunities with a chod? Because the argument is it's the worst rig for hooking fish.
It's a bit like the bushwhacker where you're dropping on bubblers or you're dropping in the area of fish.
Taking that gamble.
You're taking a gamble, aren't you, that you're presenting, and it's why I've joined the deeper gang, finally, reluctantly. No, I had to because where I'm fishing this year, there's a lot of cabbage on the bottom, and I fished it a couple of years ago, and I did catch some, but I also messed up a couple of chances where I was dropping near fish, and an hour later I was reeling in and I was in weed, or I was on, and I just couldn't take that chance. So I've got the deeper just for that specific purpose of knowing that I can drop.
He's happy with that, mate.
In clear, yeah.
You only want to think I was on commission or something, wouldn't you?
Well, I didn't want to think we all were.
I'm not at this meeting, mate. It's just those two, mate.
No, but seriously, that's important, and it's an important point about the choddy is that you're always fishing. So, it's a good rig. Yeah. It might not be as good as every other rig, but if you're fishing 100% of the time, then
it's a good rig.
It's a good rig, mate.
Yeah.
Take that. We're there. Right. Next one. You ready?
Make it a good one.
Europe or the UK?
What for?
For the rest of your fishing days.
I thought you were going to say something else. A holiday?
Yeah. Partying.
For a holiday. No, what are you going for? We're back to Oli, mate. Go on. Where are you going?
For the rest of my fishing days. Do you know what? I'm a homebody. I love going away, but I've kind of discovered over the last few years that I'm quite happy trotting a stick float, or fishing for perch, or doing a bit of barbel fishing. And as much as I love the adventuring, I think I won't be retiring on some big lake in France. I'll be retiring on my local stream fishing for roach. So for me, it's the UK. We've got some amazing carp, and let's face it, in the last 10 years, carp fishing has boomed in this country, and there are so many beautiful carp to catch everywhere, and big ones, You look at, we were talking about the numbers of big fish available on a day ticket. I think if you went back like 15 or 20 years, we were having this discussion, you could count 15 40s in the whole country. And like there's 30 40s in Horton Church at the moment, there's 30 in Kingsmead. So like just on them two lakes on the same ticket, there's 60 40s. Ridiculous. So for me, yeah, as much as I love that wild adventure style, there's enough fishing in the UK to keep me more than occupied for sure.
Jacob.
So I've only been abroad fishing twice. Went a couple of weeks ago with Henry, and he's always going mad.
So is he. He's only been a couple of times.
He's always going mad at me.
This week, mate.
In the last month. He's always going mad at me for not getting the van and driving and going out to Europe because he's saying how amazing it is. And I have to admit, I can't say... No, I can actually. I do think I would prefer the fishing in Europe than I do in the UK, based off the fact that of the adventure, and most places you go to, if you choose the right type of venue, you probably will be one of the only few anglers on there, especially go to big.
Definitely an age-related thing. I've got 20-something years on you, and like having done that now I've sort of come full circle again, So I could, if I was your age, I'd be the same, Jacob. Like there's a whole world of adventure out there.
What is it that makes you come back to this? In terms of the carp fishing? Because
do you know what? I say this about Horton, like, this is my fishing home, but it would only be my home if there was an away as well. You have to have that balance of both of both things to make you look forward to coming home. You have to go away.
You have to have an away to be able to come back home.
Exactly that. So
But if you could choose,
maybe after 2 years of not going away, I'd have a different answer.
So. But if you had to pick one that you only fished either in Europe or, I mean, that's a little bit unfair, isn't it? Because in Europe you've got multiple different countries, whereas if just UK, but say if it was just France or just UK. Or just Belgium, or just UK.
Well, I think most people would agree that in terms of variety of fishing, France has got everything, mate. Yeah. It's got it all.
I would probably go, and I've spent a lot of time fishing in the UK, but I think I would go abroad because just spending a week on the canals.
Oh, mate, there's so much fishing for you to discover.
And it's like I caught like a 20-pounder and went, that's a proper good one. And Henry was like taking the mick out of me, saying it's a good one because on the canal.
How
in London,
things have changed, eh?
Yeah.
That's only a year ago, missed a 15-pound common.
That would have been his PB.
But yeah, like even up north, there's like you're lucky if you get a 30-pound carp in a canal. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know the 30-pound carp. Carp.
I like it. Slag. That was good slag. Now
In the canal where I grew up, and there's loads of good carp around there. In London, like there's a couple of 40-pounders, but a 30-pounder is again a really big
Still
carp
a rare
for a canal,
beast, isn't it, mate?
But go to Belgium, go to France. There's a 14 near enough every single stretch of canal, and there's not that many people fishing them. There's way more of them. They're bigger. There's shipping canals, little canals, city stretches, clear stretches, murky stretches. So there's a massive variety of different types of angling. So for me, I would have to, even though I've not done it that much, I think if I had to choose, I would go for that because it almost matches the style of angling I do in London, but it's on a much broader scale.
Oh, mate, you're going to love it. The next few years are going to be
get the van soon. I'm
epic.
off.
Yeah.
That's me. I'll go Europe.
I'm in the same camp as you, mate, because in terms of the wider world of European fishing, I can honestly say I've barely even scratched the surface. I've done pay lakes in France. I've never done a public lake in France. So the world...
You got some boxes to tick there, boy.
Even though I'm old, the world in that camp... pretty. I'm like an upper 30 now, mate. I'm cracking on, do you know what I mean? Yeah, that world needs exploring for me. There's a lot of uncertainties, and I couldn't honestly say that I've scratched the surface of that. So for me, I'm in the same camp as you. The grass is greener on the other side because I haven't seen it or trodden it. But I know that the grass is definitely more trodden now than it probably was when you were doing it.
We were by no means the first, mate. We just made films about it. But you know, like this is it. If you haven't been to Europe, I would say go. There's so much good fishing out there for sure.
I'm in that camp. So I mean, you've done a bit of both.
I've done a bit of both, yeah.
I've done plenty of both.
But for personal fishing, like if I had a choice, because a lot of the European trips have been work related. Like not that they've gone, you've got to go there. Of course, I wanted to go, but UK all day. I would
UK all day.
Blimey.
Yeah.
Why?
It's just what would it be? I've grown fond maybe in my later years. Like in my 20s now, I was just fishing everywhere, data kits. In the last few years, the last 2-3 syndicates that I've been fortunate to be a member of, I've really, really, really enjoyed it. The fishing, yes, but also everything that comes with it. Maybe that's me chilling out a little bit more with my fishing now, not being such a stubborn little shit. Like, but yeah, the last 2 syndicates, not only have I gone there, and I like this whole what would you call it? Campaign fishing, where you start on a syndicate, you get to learn the stock in the lake, what they do, you build up a picture over months or even years, and then you slowly, it's just like an ongoing story, isn't it? You slowly tick off these character fish that you've got to know, you've got to watch and learn about, and you catch one, and then you catch a bigger one, and then you catch the biggest one. Like, it's just like it's a wicked adventure. But I like getting into. But
it's a longer term thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a longer term thing, and I've really grown to like that in the last sort of 5-6 years. I used to be really scared of syndicates. I was like, syndicate fishing's not a bit of me, and I used to just flirt about for years. And then I got to that age, I don't know, 30 maybe, and thought, if you want to catch a few decent fish, you're gonna have to join some syndicates and start paying the tickets, and going to fish the lakes that they're actually in, instead of fannying about here, there, and everywhere. So I did, and I was like, cool, Essex syndicate. When I first moved down to Essex, I was like, I'm a bit worried there. And then I grew up a little bit and got better at angling with my angling and whatnot, more confident, I think. And I just love it now. I love a challenge of like you say, a campaign. That's the word to say, isn't it? A campaign. And then the second thing that also comes with it is the whole the people you meet, like the people you meet and
really
get to know, man.
Tommy, really important.
I've met some incredible. I'm not saying you don't meet them people in Europe, but when I'm referring to these European trips, sort of like a one-off, isn't it? You go in there and you might never go back there again. Whereas this whole UK thing, it's the people I've met at my lakes that I've now become friends with. That some of them might be double my age. You know what I mean? I'm 34, 35, and I've suddenly become really good friends with a guy that's such different stage of his life than I am at. He's got a family, he's got kids, he's got all this, and he's led a totally different life to him, and yet we've been brought together by fishing the same lake, and now I'm like best mates with him, and I'm talking to him outside of fishing. I just think
that's the beauty of fishing, is that like, it takes that broad cross section of society and it gives you some common ground.
Yeah,
and like over the longer term, these people do become important in your life, don't they? You're sharing a lot of experiences, which and then draws you together, doesn't it?
And then you share the moment with them, the all-important moment, which is the reason why you're all there together to catch that big one or the.
And it does make it special, doesn't it?
It does make it special, and I've only learnt this in the last sort of 6, 7, 8 years, maybe on the syndicates I've fished, and like you said, maybe it's an age thing because
definitely an age thing.
What about? But a lot of that is sort of almost situational to having a long-term period of time on a venue in the UK. If you took that venue and whacked it abroad,
I was going to say this,
and the fish were bigger, but you had the same sort of setup, would you not prefer?
No, because it's not the size of the fish. I'm doing it for the I'm doing it for the
camaraderie.
Yeah,
or
and
the process.
The process. Them character fish. They're not necessarily the bigger fish. I go to Europe and fish we're going on an adventure to fish a French public. I'll take Bled, for example. Most incredible place in the world. Loved it. But them fish were a bit meaningless to me. Like,
okay.
Do you know what I mean?
What about like?
Yeah.
What about, say, because I understand what you're saying, but say for me with the European thing, I also would say that, like, not that Bledfish are meaningless, because obviously there's some sick ones, but that wouldn't necessarily be the style of angling I do. I would go to a stretcher canal, there's a big 50-pound mega looking common, and that would be my campaign, the same way that your campaign would be on like the syndicate. Yeah. But I think maybe the part that you'd be missing is that kind of the other competent anglers, and makes it become a challenge. And there's other people.
It's
there.
like the whole bluebell thing again. I like the competition.
It's like match style.
I buzz off that. Competing. It's not competing, is it? Because I guess it is competing with the other people.
Yeah, it's a friendly competition, though, isn't it? It's not like.
And I like that as well. I like that buzz. And I think going to these big public wars, don't get me wrong, it's incredible.
It can be ruthless, man. It's like it's not like that. You're in competition. Like, with these people, they're not your friends. Yeah. You know, you're doing the same thing, but like, yeah.
I know the in thing to do at the moment is UK fishing syndicate, UK fishing shit. Let's all get on the Euro tunnel and go abroad. There's a whole world out there. Like, yeah, you crack on. I'm all right.
We will, thanks.
Yeah, and people, and then I was going, it's too busy. Yes, these data kits are busy. But there's also loads of cool syndicates out there that aren't. I've just come back from Bayswater. Shouldn't say this because I don't want anyone else getting a ticket like. But I've just spent 2 days out in a boat looking for spots because there's 2 of us on a weekend on a bank holiday.
Yeah, Horton was the same, mate.
It's weird,
we went to another day ticket lake, which was like a fishbowl. People came through the gate and they were running around with their buckets for no empty swims. And yet, like, just down the road, you've got a syndicate with 30, 40s in it, and there was 4 or 5 anglers on.
Yeah, so everyone goes on about, these syndicates, it's too busy in the UK. Like, it's not. You're fishing the wrong lake, mate. Like, spread your wings a little bit. Get out there. There's plenty of place. Don't get me wrong, UK fishing's more than just syndicates. It's also, like, what Jacob does. I could not think of anything worse. It just makes me all anxious just watching his Insta stories with the whole tube and that. Like, fair play. I've got nothing against it, but for me personally, I just couldn't do it.
I mean, I grew up doing it, Tom, and I'm glad I don't have to do it now.
I've got nothing but respect
done it,
for
but
it.
I think Jacob will get to that age as well. Especially when you start driving, where you're like, do you know what? And it does change you. It's an age thing. It really is. Like, when you're younger, you've got that drive to.
The buzz dies off. Yeah. It started off for me, like, I had so many targets. I wrote them on my phone. I'm doing this at this canal, this at this canal. And I'll do whatever it took to get there. Now I'll be on the bus and I'll be thinking, God, this is so much effort. I mean, and with really time, it gets harder and harder and harder to get motivated. So now I need, like, there needs to be something that's, like, incredibly thrilling. like the way of the angling or the fish that I'm catching. I'm getting a few bites every now and again. If it's mega low stock and it's a total ball lake and there's loads of people and I don't get much sleep, I'll just be like, life's a bit too short for that.
Yeah, and
Doing
this is why
for 140. Do I really care what people think if I need to get loads of big fish? Not really anymore. But back then, I would probably try and be like, no, I need to get that 40 because I need to prove myself here. But now I'm just like, nah, I just want to do what I enjoy.
Exactly.
So I steer away. And probably when I get the van is when I probably will never fish on a towpath again. Maybe I'll just go off and fish wild open lakes. I don't know.
Yeah, but you've done that. You've ticked it. You've done that.
I mean, I have been this year. I was doing winter
Completed it.
overnighters on the canal, and I'm thinking to myself, why am I fishing here for a 20-pounder in the snow when I could be like in a locked in? But you know what? Like, you do need that buzz still.
Every now and again,
yeah. You know, like, I'm not that old that I'm totally past it, but you do also appreciate them comforts and them, you know, that little bit more laid back style of fishing. We always said, my mate Dave, you know, Dave Robinson, he don't fish behind gates and fences, does he? But I'm sure there'll come a point in his life where
it might change.
It might change. Yeah, you actually value that security, that being able to relax.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
maybe not with Dave, actually.
maybe not. No,
Well, you got to be near some flapjacks, Jacob, mate. Otherwise, you could be struggling here, buddy.
save us some.
To be fair, I think Jacob's done it in the right order, like doing the whole like urban thing first.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
He's now done that, ticked it. He can then go do a bit in Europe, tick, and then he might get to 30 years old or whatever and think, I'm going to try this syndicate fishing in the UK. Whereas the order I've done it, and I'm never going to go and do a London urban thing now. I'm never going to do that. So you're always going to have that one over me. It's something I'm never going to experience, but I've chosen not to.
Mine's definitely a Nash thing. I've fished in the UK. I'd be happy fishing the rest of my days in the UK. But I've seen enough, talked enough to you boys and spent enough time with you that I've seen sort of...
You want a little taste yourself, don't you?
And I think that's in my nature to see what's about. I've been fortunate enough to fish for crazy species all over the world, but never done Europe for carp, like properly. So to not do it, I'd feel like a bit like just wonder what if. But yeah, I'd be quite happy, conversely, not to do it. But I think if I had to pick one or the other at this stage, I might go to Europe and think it's absolutely rubbish.
I think I'm exactly the same.
But
If I didn't know, I wouldn't care because I've seen it. And
it's just finding that style of fishing that incites you as well. You know, whether that's floater fishing, whether it's stalking for me, or whether it's fishing on a giant lake out of a boat. You know, some people like, you know, that boat fishing, like for me, I can't think of anything worse than being stuck on a boat or a platform. And I've done it like years ago on the Ebro, like stayed on a boat for 2 weeks. And it is like a floating prison. Like when you literally cannot walk.
Sell it to them all.
Oh no, but well, you know, some people love that, man.
Yeah.
But like for me, nah. I like the island at Rainbow. I could have had a trip on there, a couple of trips on there, and I've turned it down because I don't want to be on an island the size of this room for a week. Like,
fair.
So there's different types, isn't there? You know, what seems like freedom isn't necessarily freedom, is it?
to everyone, yeah.
Also, I was saying about the thing, I've probably done it in reverse. Like, I obviously lived in France when I was 18, so I kind of experienced all that before I fished in the UK. I think my UK PB, when I moved out to France, albeit to fish, work at Cavignac, it was a commercial lake, but it was still boat fishing and big fish. I think my UK PB was like, I was at college, so it's like, I don't know, upper 20 or mid 20 or something. Next thing I knew, I was dropping rigs from a boat with an engine, like catching 40-pounders and 50-pounders. Then I fished, living out there, I ventured to the rivers and public lakes and that. So I learned all that at quite a young age, actually. So I've done it all. I've just done it in
the wrong
reverse.
order.
Yeah, in the wrong order. But
the right order.
maybe the right order. Yeah.
When are you bringing out the Koi Pew Chronicles, mate?
What is your PB currently?
What, Koi Pew?
Yeah.
I still ain't my breaker, mate. 23.12.
We've got a photo of it, haven't we?
Yeah, I got a photo, yeah.
French record.
In it? I'll show you later.
Boys, that's a very harmonious end, I think, to our debate podcast. Jacob successfully worked his way through loads of flapjacks. We've got to common ground on Europe and everything else. I hope you guys have enjoyed listening, watching this. We'll be back soon with another podcast. Until then, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Send us some feedback. Me and these boys, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you soon.
Sound.
See you later.
Thank you, Hassan.
Cheers.